Casthul's hands trembled as he watched the human ships through his command vessel's viewing screen. The alien commander had never seen anything like it before. The massive human vessels were performing what appeared to be routine exercises, but there was nothing routine about how they moved through space. "High Commander, the human ships are generating unusual energy readings," his science officer reported, her voice shaking. "They're doing something to the fabric of space itself." In the distance, the UES Thunderchild led a fleet of 5 human warships. On its bridge, Admiral Emily Roberts stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching as her ships performed their first major fleet exercise beyond Earth's solar system. "All ships in position, Admiral," Commander David Foster reported from his station. "Ready to begin weapons testing." Emily nodded. "Begin the test sequence. Remember, people, this is just a demonstration of our new drive systems. Let's show these ships what they can do." The Thunderchild's engines flared with an impossible light, not the blue of normal engines, but a deep purple that seemed to eat the stars around it. Space itself appeared to crack like glass where the light touched it. On his vessel, Casthul's crew watched in horror as reality itself began to splinter around the human ships. Their sensors screamed warnings about spatial distortions that shouldn't be possible. "By the Ancient Ones," Casthul whispered, "they're breaking reality itself. These humans, they're insane." He turned to his communications officer. "Send word to the High Council immediately. These creatures must be stopped before they tear the galaxy apart." Back on the Thunderchild, Emily was pleased with the test results. The new drive systems were performing exactly as designed, creating controlled tiers in spacetime that would allow their ships to move in ways that defied conventional physics. "Sir," a young officer called out, "we're detecting an approaching vessel. It's not one of ours." Emily straightened. First contact was not supposed to happen during a weapons test. "All ships, power down drive systems. Prepare for diplomatic protocols." But it was too late. Casthul had already made his decision. These humans were too dangerous to be allowed to continue. His ship launched a spread of energy torpedoes, a warning shot designed to force the humans to stand down. "Incoming fire," David shouted. Multiple torpedoes, unknown design. Emily's training kicked in instantly. "Shields up. All ships, defensive positions. Do not return fire unless directly ordered." The torpedoes streaked through space, their brilliant green energy trails cutting through the darkness. But they passed through space that was still distorted from the drive tests. The weapons hit the reality fractures and did something no one expected. They exploded with 10 times their normal force, creating a cascade of spatial distortions. "My God," Emily whispered as she watched space itself tear open between the two fleets. "All ships, emergency protocols. Get us out of here." The human ships fired their conventional engines, pulling back from the growing rift. But Casthul's ship was caught in the effect. His crew screamed as reality twisted around their vessel, the metal of their hull groaning as space itself tried to tear it apart. "Full power to the structural integrity field." Casthul ordered, "Get us out of here." His ship barely escaped, its hull scored by forces that weren't supposed to exist. As they fled at maximum speed, Casthul recorded one final message to the High Council. "The humans have created abominations, ships that can tear reality itself. They must be stopped, or they will destroy everything we know. I have witnessed their power firsthand, and I declare them an immediate threat to all spacefaring civilizations. The Viridian Empire must act now before it's too late." On the Thunderchild, Emily Roberts watched the alien ship disappear into faster-than-light travel. She knew what this meant. Humanity's first contact with an alien civilization had just turned into a potential war. "Send word to Earth Command," she ordered. Tell them we're going to need more ships. And tell the Reality Drive research team to step up production. I have a feeling we're going to need every advantage we can get." The stars seemed dimmer somehow, as if they too were aware of the conflict that was about to engulf the galaxy. Humanity had revealed its greatest technological achievement, and in doing so, had started a war that would change the universe forever. 3 years after the disastrous first contact, Chief Engineer Rachel Martinez stared at the massive ship taking shape in Earth's orbital shipyards. The vessel was unlike anything humanity had built before, darker than space itself, with strange patterns running along its hull that hurt the eyes if you looked at them too long. Beautiful, isn't it? Project Director Brian Cooper walked up beside her on the observation deck. The UES Nightbreaker, our answer to the Viridian threat. Rachel nodded slowly, watching as construction drones swarmed around the ship's reality-scaring drive housing. Beautiful isn't the word I'd use. Terrifying, maybe. We're building something that shouldn't exist. Below them, in the shipyard's main testing chamber, teams of engineers were running final checks on the improved reality-scaring drive. The original drive from the Thunderchild incident had been crude, experimental. This was something else entirely. Beginning test sequence, a technician announced over the comm. All personnel clear the testing area. The drive activated, and space itself seemed to scream. A tear appeared in reality, edges crackling with impossible energies. But unlike 3 years ago, this tear was controlled, shaped by the new containment systems. Brian checked his tablet. Power output is 300% higher than the original drive. And it's stable. The Viridians won't know what hit them. Rachel remembered the reports from the front lines. The aliens had attacked 3 human colonies in the past year, always careful to use conventional weapons. They feared humanity's reality-breaking technology so much that they refused to even study captured drive fragments. Final hull segment moving into position, the yard supervisor reported. The massive piece of dark metal, covered in those strange reality anchoring patterns, slid into place like a piece of a cosmic puzzle. In her office later that day, Rachel reviewed the final specifications with her team. The Nightbreaker wasn't just a warship. It was humanity's first true dreadnought. Over a mile long, armed with weapons that could tear holes in space itself, and protected by quantum-shifted armor that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Dr. Cooper wants to begin full systems testing tomorrow, her assistant said, looking nervous. The military's getting worried about the Viridian fleet movements. Rachel pulled up the latest intelligence reports. The aliens were gathering their forces, building up conventional warships in numbers that would have been terrifying 3 years ago. Now, looking at the Nightbreaker's capabilities, she almost felt sorry for them. The next morning, the Dreadnought systems came online for the first time. Rachel stood on the bridge, surrounded by banks of instruments monitoring reality itself. Captain Stephen Miller, the ship's chosen commander, sat in his chair, looking both proud and uneasy. All systems green, Rachel reported. Reality-scaring drive is responding normally. Quantum shields are stable. Begin undocking sequence, Stephen ordered. Let's see what this ship can do. The Nightbreaker moved away from the shipyard with impossible grace for something its size. Its drive activated, and space parted around it like water around a knife. The test target, an abandoned space station, waited 50,000 kilometers away. Target locked, the weapons officer announced. Reality fracture cannons charge. Stephen took a deep breath. Fire. The weapon fired, not a beam or a missile, but a concentrated tear in reality itself. When it hit the space station, the target didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, along with a sphere of space nearly a kilometer wide. In the following weeks, as the Nightbreaker completed its trials, more ships of its class began construction. The Viridians had started this war thinking humanity's reality-breaking ships were an abomination. They had no idea what humanity had built in response. Rachel watched the Dreadnought perform maneuver after maneuver, each one tearing new holes in space that sealed themselves minutes later. She thought about Casville's warning from 3 years ago and realized he had been right to be afraid. Humanity had created something terrible, but they had created it to survive. May God have mercy on us all, she whispered as the Nightbreaker demonstrated its full weapons array. ripping vast tears in the fabric of space-time itself. Because we're about to unleash something that will change the universe forever. Captain Amanda Hayes stood on the bridge of the UES Nightbreaker, watching the swarm of Viridian warships approaching Proxima Centauri. The alien fleet numbered over 300 vessels. The humans had only one ship, but it was enough. "Reality drive status?" she asked, her voice steady despite the tension. Lieutenant Peter Sullivan looked up from his station, where complex diagrams showed the state of space-time around the ship. "Drive is hot and stable, Captain. Ready to begin reality-scaring operations." The Viridian fleet moved closer, their green hulls gleaming in Proxima's red light. They had come to destroy the human colony below, confident that their numbers would overcome any defense. "They still don't know what we can do," Amanda said quietly. Sound battle stations. Red lights flashed throughout the massive dreadnought. Crew members rushed to their posts, each knowing they were about to make history. This would be humanity's first true battle using their new weapon. The Viridian commander's voice boomed across space, transmitted on all frequencies. "Human vessel, surrender now. You cannot hope to defeat our fleet. We will not allow your reality-breaking weapons to spread across the galaxy." Amanda smiled grimly. "Send our reply, Lieutenant." Peter pressed a button, and the Nightbreaker's drive activated. Space cracked around the ship like breaking glass. The Viridian fleet's front line suddenly found themselves being pulled apart by forces they couldn't understand. "First blood," Amanda announced. "Begin primary attack pattern." The Nightbreaker moved with impossible speed, tearing holes in reality as it went. Each tear acted like a cosmic blade, slicing through Viridian ships as if they were made of paper. 30 ships disappeared in the first pass alone. In the engine room, engineering teams worked frantically to keep the reality drive stable. Warning lights flashed as space itself protested against what they were doing to it. "Drive temperature rising." An engineer shouted. "The fabric of space-time is becoming unstable in sectors 7 through 12. Peter watched his readings with growing concern. "Captain, we're creating too many tiers too quickly. The local space-time fabric is starting to shred." Amanda gripped her chair as the ship shuddered. Around them, reality itself was coming apart. The Viridian fleet was in chaos. Ships trying to flee found themselves trapped in pockets of twisted space, while others simply vanished into tiers that appeared and disappeared randomly. "Press the attack," Amanda ordered. "Show them what happens when they threaten our colonies." The Nightbreaker's main weapon powered up, a massive reality fracture cannon that could tear a hole in space large enough to swallow a moon. When it fired, the very stars seemed to dim. 100 Viridian ships vanished in an instant, taken by a tear in space so large it could be seen from the planet below. The remaining alien vessels began to retreat in panic, their neat formation dissolving into chaos. But space itself was fighting back now. The tiers were starting to spread on their own, growing and multiplying beyond control. Reality was unraveling around the battlefield. "Captain," Peter's voice was urgent. "We need to shut down the drive now. The damage to local space-time is reaching critical levels." Amanda looked at her tactical display. Less than 50 Viridian ships remained, all of them fleeing at maximum speed. The battle was won, but at a terrible cost. "Power down all reality-affecting systems," she ordered. "Begin emergency space-time stabilization procedures." The Nightbreaker's secondary systems activated, releasing particles designed to stitch reality back together. Slowly, the tiers began to seal themselves, but they left scars, visible cracks in space that would never fully heal. Hours later, Amanda recorded her log entry. "The Battle of Proxima is over. 312 Viridian ships destroyed or fled. The colony is safe, but we've done something that can't be undone. The space around Proxima will bear the scars of this battle forever. May the Viridians think carefully before they threaten another human world." As the Nightbreaker limped back to port for repairs, its crew could still see the scars their weapon had left. Places where space itself had been wounded, where the stars looked wrong somehow. They had won their first major battle, but the universe itself would never be the same. Peter stood at his station, watching the twisted space through his monitors. "What have we created?" he whispered to himself, but no one had an answer. The great hall of the Galactic Council fell silent as the recording ended. They had all just watched the Battle of Proxima, and even these ancient species, who had seen countless wars, were shaken to their cores. Ambassador Robert Nash stood calmly before them, his gray diplomatic uniform stark against the colorful robes of the alien representatives. "As you can see," he said, "humanity has no desire for further conflict, but we will defend ourselves." In the back of the chamber, Security Officer Laura Bennett watched the aliens carefully. She wasn't just a security officer. She was a counterintelligence specialist, and something felt wrong about this meeting. A tall crystalline being rose from its seat. "The humans tear apart the fabric of reality itself. This is not warfare. It is a crime against existence itself." "Better than the extinction you planned for us," Robert replied evenly. "We've seen your war plans. The Viridians weren't just acting alone, were they?" Laura noticed movement in the shadows. Her enhanced eyes caught a glimpse of something that shouldn't be there. Quilleri infiltrators, their chameleonic skin almost perfect, but not quite perfect enough. The aliens were talking again. "Your weapons leave permanent scars in space-time. The battle site at Proxima is still unusable for normal travel. Reality itself screams in pain around it." Meanwhile, aboard his flagship, Supreme Commander Kaz Full watched different recordings, secret videos of the new human dreadnoughts under construction. The Nightbreaker had been just the beginning. The humans were building more, each one more powerful than the last. "They must be stopped," he told his officers. "Begin Operation Starbreak immediately." Back in the council chamber, Laura moved quietly through the crowd. The Quilleri spies were getting closer to the human delegation. She activated her neural link. "Security team, possible infiltration in progress. Stand by." One of the council members, a gaseous being held in a containment suit, addressed Robert. "What prevents you humans from turning these weapons on all of us? Who controls these reality-breaking ships?" "We do," Robert answered. "And we use them only in defense. But make no mistake, we will use them if threatened." Laura saw the Quilleri make their move. They were fast, but she was faster. As they leaked toward the human delegation, she activated her countermeasures. Quantum-locked fields sprang up, trapping the infiltrators in midair. "As you can see," Robert continued smoothly, as if nothing had happened, "we're prepared for treachery as well as open warfare." The Quilleri spies were quickly secured, and Laura's team found what they were carrying: devices designed to steal the secrets of the reality-scaring technology. But they couldn't understand what they found. In his private chambers later, Robert reviewed Laura's security report. "They're all terrified of us now," he said. "Is this what we wanted?" Laura shook her head. "They plan to wipe us out, sir. Fear might be the only thing keeping them in check." On the edges of human space, another battle was starting. 3 human dreadnoughts faced off against a combined alien fleet. The aliens had brought 2,000 ships. It wasn't nearly enough. The dreadnoughts tore reality apart, creating a web of spatial wounds that trapped and destroyed hundreds of ships at once. The aliens fought bravely, but how do you fight an enemy that can break the laws of physics? In the council chamber, the final recordings played. Countless alien ships being swallowed by tears in space, reality itself crying out as it was wounded again and again. "We offer peace," Robert told the council. "Real peace, not just a pause before you try to destroy us again. But know this, if you force us to fight, we will fight. And we will win, even if we have to tear apart the galaxy to do it." Laura watched the aliens' reactions. She saw fear, yes, but also something else. A growing realization that humanity wasn't just another spacefaring race. They were something new, something terrifying. As the council session ended, reports came in from across the galaxy. more battles, more reality-scaring weapons, more permanent wounds in the fabric of space-time. The horror was spreading, and no one knew how to stop it. Fleet Commander Christopher Hayes watched as his 5 dreadnoughts moved into attack formation. Each ship was darker than the space around it, their hulls covered in patterns that hurt the eyes. The UES Worldrender led the group, followed by the Voidmaker, Starbreaker, Realiteteer, and Dimension River. "All ships report ready, sir," his communications officer said. "Reality drives are hot and stable." Before them lay the largest alien fleet ever assembled. 4 different species had joined forces: the Viridians, Quillari, Zentari, and Marosh. Their ships filled space like a sea of metal. "They still think numbers will save them," Christopher said quietly. "Begin the attack." All 5 dreadnoughts activated their reality drives at once. Space didn't just tear, it shattered. The aliens watched in horror as their perfectly arranged fleet began to break apart. On the Zentari command ship, Admiral Vextal screamed orders. Fall back now." But there was nowhere to run. The human ships were creating a web of reality tiers, each one feeding into the others. Ships that tried to flee found themselves trapped in pockets of twisted space-time. "Sir," Christopher's science officer reported, "the reality tiers are starting to merge. We're seeing cascade effects we've never recorded before." The space between the fleets was becoming something impossible. Stars visible through the tiers were the wrong color, the wrong shape. Some areas of space showed nothing at all. Not darkness, but a complete absence of existence. On their flagship, the Quillari leaders were arguing. "We must use the forbidden weapons," one shouted. "The humans leave us no choice." "No," another answered. "The forbidden weapons could destroy everything. We must surrender." The Viridians weren't retreating. Their ships charged forward, weapons firing. But their energy beams twisted and bent in the damaged space, some even turning back on their own ships. Christopher watched the tactical display as hundreds of enemy ships vanished into the reality tiers. But something was wrong. The tiers weren't sealing themselves like they usually did. They were growing. "Sir," his science officer's voice was shaking. "The damage to local spacetime. It's becoming self-sustaining. The tiers are feeding off each other." In the heart of the battle, space itself was coming apart. The 5 dreadnoughts had created too much damage too quickly. Reality was unraveling faster than their stabilization systems could repair it. The alien fleet was in chaos. Some ships were surrendering. Others were still trying to fight. Many were simply disappearing into the growing void that had once been normal space. "All ships, Emergency Protocol 7, Christopher ordered. Full power to stabilization systems." The dreadnoughts turned their reality-mending technology to maximum power, but the damage was too severe. They could slow it, but not stop it completely. On the Mirage ships, crews watched in terror as space itself seemed to die around them. Their sensors couldn't make sense of what they were seeing. Reality wasn't just torn anymore, it was broken. "Sir," Christopher's executive officer reported, "we're getting surrender signals from 60% of the remaining alien ships. The other 40% were already gone, lost to the void or fled." The battle was over, but its effects would last forever. The space where they had fought would remain twisted and broken, a warning to anyone who thought about challenging humanity again. Christopher recorded in his log, "Victory achieved. Enemy fleet destroyed or surrendered. But the cost is higher than we imagined. We've created a permanent dead zone in space, a place where reality itself is wounded beyond repair." Later, as the dreadnoughts limped home, their crews could see the damage they'd left behind. A vast region of space where normal laws of physics no longer applied, where reality itself had been scared so deeply it would never heal. The aliens had learned their lesson. Humanity's weapons didn't just destroy ships or planets. They destroyed space itself. The war was nearly over, but the universe would bear the scars forever. "Send word to Earth Command," Christopher ordered. Tell them we won. but also tell them what we've done. They need to know that each time we use these weapons, we risk breaking reality itself. Captain Daniel Morris stood on the bridge of the UES Worldender, staring at the readings that shouldn't be possible. Science Officer Mary Thompson worked frantically at her station, trying to understand what was happening. "The tiers aren't sealing," Mary said, her voice tight with fear. "They're growing, merging, becoming something new." Around them, 3 dreadnoughts fought against the last major alien fleet. The battle had started normally enough, reality tiers ripping apart enemy ships, space-time breaking under the weapon's power. But something had gone wrong. "All ships, hold position," Daniel ordered. "Something's happening to the void." The space between the human and alien fleets wasn't just torn anymore. It was screaming, not with sound, but with something deeper. Reality itself was crying out in pain. "Captain," Mary called out, "the tiers from our previous battles, they're connecting to these new ones. It's creating a cascade effect." The tactical display showed it clearly. Every reality tear they had ever made, every scar they had left in space, was somehow linking together. The void between stars was becoming a web of broken physics and twisted spacetime. An alien ship tried to escape through a gap in the reality tiers. As they watched, space itself seemed to reach out and pull the ship apart, not destroying it but unmaking it, erasing it from existence. "The void is becoming alive," Mary whispered. "All these tiers, all this damage, we've created something that shouldn't exist." Daniel watched as more alien ships vanished, not from human weapons, but from the thing they had created. The tiers were spreading faster now, eating through normal space like acid through paper. "Emergency broadcast to all ships," Daniel shouted. "Fall back. Get clear of the tear zone." But it was too late for some. An entire sector of space simply ceased to exist, taking dozens of ships with it, both human and alien. The void wasn't just broken anymore. It was hungry. On her science station, Mary's instruments were showing impossible readings. "Captain, the tiers are affecting time itself now. We're getting temporal distortions, causality violations. Through the viewing windows, they could see it. Stars flickering in and out of existence. Space folding in on itself. Reality coming apart at the seams. All ships, emergency reality stabilization," Daniel ordered. "Maximum power to the repair systems." The dreadnoughts fired up their reality-mending technology, trying to seal the wounds they had made. But it was like trying to stop a flood with a paper towel. The damage was too great. An alien commander's voice came over the emergency channel. "Humans, what have you done? You've broken the universe itself." Mary's voice shook as she reported. "Sir, the void. It's becoming self-aware. All these reality tiers, all this broken spacetime, it's creating patterns like a vast neural network made of broken physics." They watched in horror as the thing they had created began to move with purpose. Reality tiers formed and sealed themselves in complex patterns. Space twisted and untwisted in ways that seemed almost deliberate. "Get me Earth Command," Daniel ordered. "They need to know what's happening. We need to stop using these weapons before we tear apart the entire galaxy." But even as he spoke, more tiers were forming. The void screamed its pain across dimensions, and every reality-scaring weapon ever fired had left a wound that was now connecting to all the others. "Sir," Mary said quietly, "I don't think we can stop it anymore. We've reached a tipping point. The damage, it's self-sustaining now." The battle ended not because either side won, but because there was no more space left to fight in. A vast region of broken reality now floated where the fleets had clashed, a place where the normal laws of physics simply didn't exist anymore. As the Worldender retreated with the other surviving ships, Daniel recorded his final log. "We created weapons to save humanity, but we may have doomed the universe instead. The void screams now, and we're the ones who taught it how." Admiral Emily Roberts stood on the bridge of the UES Final Reckoning, looking at the Viridian homeworld through a web of broken space. She had been there at the beginning of this war, and now she would see its end. "All Dreadnoughts report ready," her command officer said. The entire human fleet was here, 15 reality-scaring ships, the most ever gathered in one place. But they weren't here to fight. They were here to show the aliens what would happen if the war continued. "Open a channel to their high command," Emily ordered. "Show them what the void has become." The main screen activated, showing the Viridian leaders the horror their war had created. Between their world and the human fleet floated a massive tear in reality. Not from weapons, but from the living void itself. Supreme Commander Casful, older now and wiser, watched from his command center. "By the Ancient Ones," he whispered, "what have we done?" The void between their fleets twisted and moved like a living thing. Stars vanished and reappeared. Space itself folded and unfolded in impossible ways. Reality had been broken so many times that it had learned to break itself. "This is what continues if you don't surrender," Emily's voice carried across space to all alien ships. Not just broken space, not just torn reality. Something worse, something that's growing, learning, spreading. Mary Thompson, now the lead scientist for the entire fleet, displayed her findings. "The void entity is expanding. Every reality tear we make feeds it. If this war continues, it will consume entire sectors of space." The alien leaders watched in horror as the living void reached out with tendrils of broken physics, touching their ships with fingers made of twisted space-time. They didn't destroy the ships. They simply rewrote the rules of reality around them. "We surrender." Casful's voice was heavy with defeat. "You humans win. But tell us, can this be stopped? Can the void be healed?" Emily looked at Mary, who shook her head slowly. "No," Emily answered honestly. "The damage we've done to space-time is permanent. The void entity is self-sustaining now. All we can do is stop feeding it with more reality tears." On planets across the galaxy, people of all species could see the signs. The stars looked different now. Space travel had become dangerous. Ships had to plot courses around areas of broken reality, places where physics itself had been wounded. "Let this be our legacy," Emily broadcast to all ships, human and alien alike. "Not as conquerors or victims, but as a warning. Some weapons are too terrible to use. Some victories cost too much." The surrender ceremony was brief. The aliens accepted human terms, not harsh ones, but careful ones. No more attacks on human worlds. No more attempts to steal reality-scaring technology. And most importantly, a joint effort to study and contain the void entity they had created. Later, in her private quarters, Emily watched recordings from the first battle, when everything had started. "We wanted to survive," she said to her reflection. "We never meant to break the universe." Mary joined her, carrying new sensor readings. "The void entity is stabilizing," she reported. "It's not growing as fast now. Maybe, in time, it will reach some kind of equilibrium." But they both knew the universe would never be the same. The void between stars was awake now, aware, changed forever by humanity's desperate weapons. "Send word to Earth," Emily ordered. Tell them we've won the war. But also tell them what it cost. The price of victory was the death of innocent space, the birth of something that should never have existed." As the fleet prepared to return home, they could see the scars they had left across the galaxy. Tears in reality that would never heal. Regions of space where the laws of physics had been rewritten. And in the darkness between stars, something new and terrible, born from humanity's weapons, watching, waiting, growing. The war was over. Humanity had survived. But every time they looked up at the stars, they would remember the cost of their victory. A universe forever changed, forever scared, forever haunted by the horror they had created.